Hi there and welcome. Steve Wills here. Thanks for joining me. In this particular video, we'll be walking through some of the various document routing types that exist in process automation systems. Some of the various types that we'll be looking at today, I'll enumerate here on the screen. In order to produce a coherent ecosystem, at the end of the day, all of these need to be rooted in a complete and consistent methodology. First, a few of the basics. You'll notice a graphic in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. We'll be systematically filling in that graphic as we work through the various document routing types. Manual routing is the simplest of all the document routing types. And here is where the end user will simply select the next state to advance to in the process, as you see here in the example. Automatic routing, as opposed to manual routing, is where the next state is determined based on values contained within the workflow document, that in combination with the defined rules. In this case, the document is routed based on the value of total. Now, these two rules, of course, can be combined. We see here the manager can approve the document, in which case it's routed to director if total is below a certain amount, otherwise routed to the CEO. And of course, the manager can either reject the request or send it back to the author for modification. Now, very important, aliases are required. If, for example, we select director and CEO here, it's not automatic routing, it's manual routing. And so hence the need for example, approved to approve the document. Now we'll digress here just for the next couple of slides. We do want to, for example, change the order in which next states are presented to the end user. Also, if we want to delete and do other manipulations or rules, we need to reference them. And so to that end, in this particular system, manual rules are assigned numbers while automatic rules are assigned letters. So here in this example, we've just simply reordered the states that are presented to the end user. States do need to be initialized from time to time. That's particularly true with the initial state. We do need to get the usernames into the workflow document in order to operate on them. And we'll use something called a code abstraction. Here is where we can simply enter the text in the state document, and that will invoke the corresponding code in the back end when the document is opened, when the workflow document is opened. Likewise, we can do the same when the user selects the send button. In this particular case, we'll be creating a new routine. We'll call it control total. There you see it here. Again, using code abstraction. We'll simply insert the code here, and then we'll create the link between the text in the state document and the actual invocation of the code in the back end. And as you can see here, the error message is displayed. Parallel operations is when a user from different groups needs to intervene in order for the document to advance. In this particular case, a user from marketing, production, and sales all need to intervene in the document for it to advance. And there you see the definitions, the parallel operations for the various constraints. Inclusive operations is when all users from a given group need to intervene for the document to advance. So here, all the users in group production, E1 and E2, need to intervene. These rules can be combined. Likewise, they can be combined with the other rules we saw prior. So here, a user from marketing and sales needs to intervene, and also all of those in group production needs to intervene. So there are the definitions, and we will rapidly go through the various permutations. And so here you'll see both E1 and E2 need to intervene. And there the document advanced. Okay, these next few will be a little bit more involved. We all know what a parallel operation is. That's when each user needs to intervene for the document to advance. In an extended parallel operation, a document can move forward independently along different channels. I do believe this is an innovation with this particular workflow tool. So here I have the graphic up on top to help follow along with what's happening in the application on the bottom, with the definitions on the right. So you can see extended operation end is what effectively ends that particular channel. And there it's only after all the channels have completed that the document can be advanced to director. Extended sequential operations, I often refer to these as virtual states, in that their rules are executed immediately upon entering. And this effectively allows us to chain two levels of rules together. I believe another innovation for this particular methodology. In our example, at least two of the three users have to validate the document. So it's based on a collection of a group of users, their decision. So we can't simply rely on the last person to approve or not the document. And so here we see the two combinations. So how does it work? Here are the state documents, the parallel operation, as we could see as before, and we'll simply put those side by side. This is just a different tab, actions, and this is where fields are updated in the document. Now we'll take a look at the virtual document, the virtual state. And the definition. Child documents, of course, are created from parent documents. If you haven't seen the purchasing video on our website, I would highly recommend you do so. It's a terrific example of how to use child documents in the context of a purchasing application, where we have purchase requests, purchase orders, so on and so forth. So here the definitions are such that only the parent can be archived once all of the children are archived. So here we see the two sets of state documents, and here, of course, in the view they're identical. The only difference is one spawns the other. And ideally would put all of these rules on the same level, if you will. We're just simply limited by the space on the screen. So those are the explanations. Here is the definition. You can see that there. And we'll update our graphic. Selective operations, here we're just simply underlining the importance of rules being related and dependent on constraints, or profiles, if you will, and not on the state itself. So here sales see one set of next states to advance to, while marketing will see a different set of states. Now this was already apparent in parallel operations, but just to emphasize. Finally, there's our state document. For the few fields that you see that are not filled in, they are likewise all textual in nature. So be it for the historical description, or the notifications, emails to send, or actions, the fields to update in the document, all of those are simply text-oriented. Again, emphasizing a document-driven process automation. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you found it to be useful and informative. Please stay tuned for future videos where we will ramp up the complexity as we build on the foundation that we have started here. Thanks again for joining me.